The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 set the United States military, under the command of President George W. Bush, into attack mode. American troops deployed to the countries of Afghanistan in October 2001 and Iraq in March 2003. Some 200,000 plus women served during these wars and deployed to war zones. Like their male counterparts, women were also called upon to serve multiple deployments during the 14-plus years of conflicts. 44% of enlisted and 13% of officers deployed 2 or more times, and that statistic includes men and women. Though women were still officially barred from serving in direct combat position in units, women were involved in combat operations. The Army and Marine Corps in particular got around the combat restriction ban by assuring that women, quote, were not assigned to combat units, only attached, end quote. Over 145 women made the ultimate sacrifice while serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, while more than 860 were physically wounded. Military women were fighting and writing alongside their male counterparts. My project examines 31 of military women's published, single-author, single-experience memoirs, which chronicle their service in Afghanistan, Iraq, or both. However, over the last 2 weeks, I've only focused on 2 texts systematically. Following the advice of Philip Eubanks and Jack Seltzer, who advocate for contextual rhetorical analysis, I am analyzing and categorizing each paragraph of each book. My categories focus on the arguments the texts make and the evidence they rely upon. With the 2 works I brought with me to the seminar, the method I've developed is to reread and categorize each book, writing the perceived argument on the margins of the page. After reading a single work, I have transcribed my marginal notes into a Word document. I then write a post facto note to chronicle my process and thoughts. With the help of the seminar and all the wonderful people who've taught me, I was able to find my spot on the table. The field in one table that is. I also found my spot on another table from Pryor and Thorne's article. It's worth mentioning that my feminist theoretical framework influenced my epistemological stance to be both interested and interventionist. Given feminists' activist aims, I see this work as fulfilling social needs and promoting social change. Lofty aims? For sure. But open any one of these works and you'll find similar positions. However, I must stress that I'm the feminist. None of the authors call themselves feminist. In fact, many explicitly note that they are not feminists. As of today, my research question is, what is the text arguing, how is it arguing, and to whom is it arguing? This question has changed in the last 2 weeks, but more importantly, it was crystallized through the various manifestations of data analysis I performed on these memoirs. Because my analysis is very much in progress and will be for some time, what I can share is tentative and brief. The most definitive information I can share is the demographic information of the works, the stuff you could easily find by Googling, but I found through reading. Information you see in this table, which I've done for all 31 works. This table shows the 2 books I brought to Hanover. I chose these books because one is only 48 pages and the other has a unique format of sharing 26 lessons and uses sources and endnotes, so I wanted to spend some time with it because of its uniqueness. I also chose these 2 texts because I initially thought, given the document design of each, that one was published by a major publisher and the other was self-published. Come to find out, however, that they are both self-published, albeit from different publishing companies. The majority of the 31 works rely on self-publishing, though a few were published by presses like W.W. Norton, Kaplan, and Little Brown & Co. My method for data collection was simply searching through library databases and Googling, using the words servicewomen, military women, women veteran, Iraq, and Afghanistan. I've been collecting and reading these books since 2011. I've limited my corpus to single-authored, single-experience women's life writing. According to Lynn Bloom, autobiographical works that are single experience chronicle an event in the author's life that was transformative. Bloom argues that single experience authors are naive, one-hit wonder writers who devote little space to what happened after the event and tend to pen and publish their works quickly after the event or at the end of the author's life. Lastly, Bloom thinks these authors write for the expressed purpose of putting their experience behind him or her and or to get on with the rest of their lives. Bloom's findings, which she published in 1987, apply to the military women's memoirs I'm analyzing. Before I knew the term single experience, I used the term deployment memoir as a way to categorize these works, and in order to narrow the scope of my corpus. Another way I've narrowed the scope of my corpus is by excluding biographies, anthologies, or collections of military women's writing, and written oral history interviews with military women, which usually appear in a collected format. I'm cognizant of the limitations of my methods. I know and explicitly acknowledge that my analysis will be partial and incomplete. I will articulate my systematic approach for analysis and categorization as clearly and as thoroughly as I can in order for others to replicate, reproduce, extend, modify, or deepen my process. As I've learned from the seminar, I need to be systematic and rigorous with the explanation of my methods. If I'm able to do so, I can make my findings more visible and testable. This is an important goal I am going to aim for, not only because it's best practice, but also because I want military women's texts to be more widely read and studied. My hope is that by employing the approach to composition research I've acquired from the seminar, it will compel other researchers to seriously and comprehensively examine military women's single experience life writings. If they do, they'll find that military women are trying to argue against the stereotype that there are only 3 types of women in the military: the bitch, the slut, or the lesbian. Indeed, military women are scrupulous in their need to justify their ethos as capable, hardworking, and effective leaders who are always trying to be seen as more than their sex and gender. They'll also learn about a number of other military service personnel with whom the author served. Indeed, paragraphs of text are devoted to praising other service personnel's greatness. Sometimes these exposés are also used to elucidate the author's ethos. It seems that the authors are trying to persuade their brothers and sisters in arms, that is, other men and women in uniform. Most authors directly address their readers and rely on second-person pronouns. Of course, some authors try to appeal to both civilians and military audiences. In Eastman's book, for example, she provides several scenarios from her life that help make the argument that civilians must learn that women are veterans too. I'm interested in spending more time with the mini photo albums authors tend to include in the center of their books. This might be a chapter for the book or a single article. We'll see. I'm going to keep going in my approach of rereading, categorizing, and writing. I'll pass through each works at least twice, if not 3 times, as 3 is the magic number after all.
Three is a magic number. Yes, it is. It's a magic number.
Thank you for your attention and encouragement during the last few minutes and in conversations over the last 2 weeks. I hope you'll share your perceptions, questions, and ideas with me in written or oral form, now or in the near future.